This was my wife's great-grandfather's homestead here on this quarter. We moved here on the farm. I built this house in 2000 and we've been living here ever since, and finally was able to save up enough money to build a shop. It was a quiet afternoon. I yelled for help, of course, but nobody heard me. I was burying a water line on the farm. I was going from the shop to the well, and I had to go inside the trench, make a splice. I went inside the trench and then caved in on me. Right here is where I was buried. I was making that splice like this, and it started caving in behind me, and I moved forward like you're supposed to do. And then it caught me. It all came down so fast, and it came down and hit me in the rear, and I went face down in the trench, and I was covered. And that's when my femur was broke instantly. Laid down face down, and then I was covered from my rear back up at a 45, so basically face down. From the instant that happened, I thought at any second, you know, another slough of dirt could come in and basically bury me alive 9 feet down. And so you wouldn't, 3 hours, just imagine how long 3 hours would take, you know, thinking that any second your life could be over. And all I could think about was my wife and my family and what they're gonna do without me. So, you know, I'd been fighting, and I had clay all the way up my fingernails from digging out, trying to dig out. Could not budge it, and I'd give up, you know, and I'd put my face down in the mud, and I'd sit there. It's like, God, you just can't let me die this way. I just can't, this can't be it for me, you know, 38 years old. And please, God, just get me out of here. I'll never put myself in harm's way again, you know. Well, one thing I did, probably to my favor, was I put the boom of the backhoe in the hole, and I pushed it up against the side. So I stood up, and then I leaned to the right a little bit, and my femur was broken. I wasn't feeling that it was broke. So then I fell to the right. So I fell in the corner of the trench again, and my leg just went like this. And then the only thing I could do is I could reach the teeth on that bucket, and I got a hold of the teeth, and I pulled myself out of there on the boom, and I got so far up, I just cradled it till I could rest. And then I crawled up a little more, and I got to the point where I could either lay there till somebody found me on the boom, or risk the chance of me passing out, going into shock, and then fall back in the trench. So I pushed with everything I had left and pushed myself back up on the surface, and I just took a couple rolls, and then the pain from my leg was, I mean, I could feel it then. It was just excruciating. So then I laid there for about a half an hour, and finally my wife and kids came home. And by that time it was just about dark, and then they found me.
Farm rescue is very similar to the Highway Patrol in that when one of our fellow employees has a problem, we'll help them out. For instance, when some of our other Highway Patrol employees there's a couple of them that had flood problems this summer in Minot, and Mike was there to help them out. We work so closely together all the time, and when one of your co-workers is in trouble, it's just a natural thing to do to help them out.
Yeah, farm rescue, I think, is well talked about in the farming community.
Charlie, the combine operator, was highly skilled. We had some very difficult hills with a lot of rocks and sloughs and whatnot, and I got to ride with him, and I was impressed with his skill in maneuvering the combine around. And actually, we did a little maintenance on the combine as well, and he takes care of it like it's his own. So I was impressed with Charlie, and then the other truck drivers were very helpful and always hardworking and on time.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely,
can't complain about them.
Absolutely, you know, one of the things about, you know, being a farmer and having your own equipment is you're a little hesitant to let anybody else operate your equipment or drive your trucks. Every piece of equipment's got its own personality, but there's just a great group of professionals that came out here with Farm Rescue, and Don, the truck driver, he's been driving truck for years. He had no problem. He jumped in and took off, and so I'd tell anybody, you know, don't be afraid. These guys know what they're doing.
Personally, I've never helped out until now, but it was actually a pretty fun experience, and I got a kick out of it, and I could be called upon again to do it again. I'd do it.
The hardest thing for any farmer is to have someone else do all your work for you. I think everybody should move through that and fill that request form out and get farm rescue on their farm as soon as possible. Don't hesitate. Looking at this, you see the sponsors, you see RDO, you see Bremer Bank, you see Ryan Chevrolet, Farm Credit. I mean, for the sponsors to put up money and support a program like this, I mean, it just goes to show you that we are working hand in hand, farmers, dealerships, banks. I mean, it's just great to see really the whole ag economy working together to make this happen. And it's a very well put together and organized program. I just hats off to them for going through and throwing some dollars at this program.
And myself, coming from not having been in farming for a long time, it amazes me how much money is invested. It's you don't really think about it until you're out here. The fuel, you know, the tools, you know, if something breaks down, it's very expensive. And with somebody that just sees a combine in the field, you might not think of everything that goes into it, and it's quite impressive what is actually donated.
Yeah, well said. I know definitely when I go to look for some different equipment, I'll be looking for some green stuff from RDO, and I didn't mean that. I mean, if they're willing to put up dollars for a program like this, that means something. If they're willing to support me, I'm going to in turn do the same back to them.